Hey, welcome to the For the Masses podcast. My name is John Barrett, your host. Hey, back again with a banger Wrestling Wednesday episode because we love the wrestlers here, right? But before we get into who the guest is and what he does, we have admin tasks we have to take care of because we do what we have to do, right? So please follow us on all platforms at For the Masses Podcast. Please follow us on YouTube at JB the Masses Podcast. Again, I'm gonna say this week in, week out. I see the views. Please keep on adding to the subscriber count and support the podcast. We have Anchor supporters up, so if you want to support the podcast monetarily, you can do so there. Please leave a voice message. We're open to like anything we can do to like help the podcast grow. Okay. So I have a good buddy of mine, a coach, mentor, brother, all simultaneously. He's one and the same, and he's a phenomenal wrestler, phenomenal coach, and he's leading a dynasty right now. We're going to get into what that means to him and what that looks like. So Matt Littleton, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, JB?
Hey, I'm excited to have you on the podcast. I'm always excited to talk to you, though.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be on here, man.
Yeah, it's Wrestling Wednesday just for you.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I think we should always dedicate a day of the week for wrestling.
I know. I mean, a lot of us are addicted to the sport, so in some way, shape, or form, we're always like in it.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can really. I mean, even when you're done competing, you feel like you're always still involved with it. I mean, even you might be done coaching, but you're always got your hand in something. Or you run into a wrestler, or you know somebody, and then you always end up talking about it anywhere you go. So.
No, absolutely. And you recently got married. And
I did.
I'm surprised nothing got broken. I want to
No. The planner did get a little upset about the sprinklers being thrown on the ground. But other than that, it was smooth sailing. Nothing was broken. No wrestling matches broke out in the middle of the ceremony, so we were pretty good.
I'm so shocked, honestly.
I am too, honestly. I got some rowdy friends sometimes, and obviously weddings can be fun. So.
No, most definitely, and it's so surreal for me to. And thank you for inviting me. Thanks for letting me enjoy your special day with you.
I'm glad you could be there, man. It was a fun day, beautiful day. We were happy that you were there.
Most definitely, and like it's just so surreal for me because like I met you almost a decade ago, and that Littleton different from like this Littleton now.
Without a doubt. I don't think my wife would like that Littleton that you met a decade ago. He was still pretty young.
Yeah.
But no, it's crazy to think, man, that this journey and this friendship, started a decade ago, and here we are now, in life.
Surreal.
We kind of got to watch ourselves grow up both a little bit.
Absolutely,
which is fun.
And I always appreciate you, Doyle, Hedger, Ramsey, like all you guys, our original coaching staff, for everyone listening, because you guys simultaneously were my coach, and then you got the opportunity. I had the opportunity to coach with you, right? And then we build like more of a brotherhood there, and it's just like all that simultaneously, into one. So I'm super grateful for these relationships I have.
No, man, it was awesome. It was. I was actually thinking about the other day, and I was like, man, it's crazy. I got to coach him for, I think it was like 3 years. And then, we got to coach together.
Yeah.
Watch it grow from your wrestling side of things. And you become, a coach with us. It was, that was fun. And obviously that you're right. There's two different friendships kind of, the relationship's different from coach to athlete to now coach with coach,
Yep.
So things change. I mean, obviously it changes the relationship a little bit, but it was nice to have both of those. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. I think, I definitely consider you one of my brothers now because we argued. Once we argue about sports.
Well, I'm sure Hedger and Sean remember about a lot of the arguments we used to have in our coaching in our hotel rooms when we were coaching. So
it's so funny. I'm surprised we had the energy because coaching drains us more than like the athletes probably.
Oh, without a doubt. I want to mention one of our arguments. I don't know if Hedger pays attention, but I remember you telling us you could run like a 4.3 or a 4.4 at some point. Can you still do that?
Oh gosh, no.
I just want to make sure. I just wonder if you still had it.
No, gosh, no. So funny story. I thought I was that guy still last year, and I went out to play some like intramural football.
Yeah.
Played a game, pulled my hamstring.
Oh yeah, that stuff catches up with you quick.
I was like, oh man, this is why people were like, the people were warming up and stuff. I was like, why are you guys warming up? Like, I'm in Division 2, like Spartan. Like, what do you guys mean? And
that's great. That is great.
So I'm going to Miami tomorrow actually to do Ramsey camp.
Oh yeah, actually I've been seeing that. You, Max, and
TJ.
TJ.
Yeah, Terrence gonna and I'm coming, but he's back. He's back working out now, doing jujitsu and stuff. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, so I'm super happy for him. But yeah, he got a new job, so he can't get the time off. But
I got you.
yeah, this is our 4th year going down there. He got some good kids, man.
Oh yeah, he's doing great things down there with that program. I'm real happy for him. Obviously, you want to see your friends obviously succeed, and he's obviously he's killing it.
No, he definitely is, and I'm waiting for you guys to wrestle. Did you guys wrestle this past year?
No, we've had a few. I don't think we ever matched up at nationals either. We don't see I think we used to see a Florida team when we were down in Tennessee, but we don't see many of those Florida teams. And I think in the next couple of years, he's planning to bring a team up to West Virginia. So that's going to be our plan because we should be pretty tough then too. So,
no, most definitely. So before we get into like why your team is pretty tough, let's talk about you. So like where you from and like how long you've been wrestling, where you started wrestling at?
Well, so I was originally born in Chicago. I transferred to West Virginia when I was real young and kind of basically grew up here in the state of West Virginia. Grew up in Work County originally and then transferred into Parkersburg. We moved to Parkersburg, went to Parkersburg High School, and obviously that program and it's everything it's able to accomplish. Ended up going to West Liberty University, wrestled there as a national qualifier, 4-time starter, and then got my coaching career started at Wheeling Jesuit. And coached there for 4 years, and then kind of had the honor to get a teaching job back at my high school, which was, obviously kind of surreal. People talk about, their dream job, and, in the teaching world, sometimes it's a little hard to, get your dream job is your first full-time job. And I remember, sitting up at Jesuit, I was talking to Sean. I'm like, hey, I'm going to apply for this job. Probably won't get it, just give him a heads up if I was going to leave or anything. And sure enough, I got it. And then, even then, the head coach that had been there, he'd been there for a while, and he was good. I thought he'd stay. I was like, man, I want to be head coach eventually.
Yeah.
And, kind of things fell into a certain way. Our head coach moved up to become the athletic director. It left that job open for me I think 1 year after I was already teaching there.
Wow.
So I kind of got into that job, which was nice. So, but that's kind of my, my backstory, I guess. I started wrestling. I remember I was in the 4th grade, right? So it's funny. Most sports, you watch and you're like, oh, that kind of looks fun, baseball, basketball. So, and I'm a little out there, I guess. So my mom worked late hours. So I had the after school program. After I was in elementary school, I'd go after school and stay there. And she'd pick me up, when she got off work. Well, one day she was running late, and the buddy that I was there with, he was a wrestler. So he's like, I'll go to wrestling practice. I'm like, I'll come watch it. I got to wait for my mom, So I walk in, and these guys, basically kids just, they're beating each other up. And that's what our sport is, right? I'm like, oh, this looks like fun. Mm-hmm. So I tell my mom that night, I said, hey, I'd like to go out for wrestling. And this is like middle of the season of wrestling. So I'm like, all right. Mom's like, okay. She goes out and buys me shoes and signs me up. And, well, we haven't looked back since, I guess.
Man, that's incredible. I always love, like, hearing the stories about everyone when they start, like, young. Because, I started 9th grade, so it was a different type of, like, urgency for me at that level. But, like, man, I love the youth tournaments. They'd be having fun. Conditioning doesn't matter.
Oh, man, they got all the energy.
All the energy, man. I love that. I love that.
Oh, no doubt.
That's incredible. So, you end up, like, going back to your alma mater, your high school alma mater, and you're like, hey, like, I'm an assistant coach, head coaching job comes up. Obviously, you coach at the collegiate level for a while. I know how I feel about high school, and I was like, I don't know if I could, like, do that, like, where my mental state is, like, after transitioning from college coaching. So how was that to go back to high school and coach?
Honestly, that was probably one of the most difficult things. And sometimes I still struggle with it, right?
Yeah.
I think early in my career coaching, like, I would kind of start practice. And in college, you can tell a kid, hey, go warm up, 3 and 3. Just, takedowns, right? 3 and 3. Let's get our bodies used to be in wrestling positions. In high school, you can't do that as much. You need to structure it more, right? You have to give them guidance. You have to give them, what are we working on here?
Yeah.
Because you give them free reign, their mind they're not developed enough yet to understand, the concept. Most of them aren't,
Yeah.
So learning that, you had to structure everything, obviously, to have the most productive practice. And then, obviously, like you said, the mentality of, going from college kids who really, really want to be there, to high school kids, who, some of them want to wrestle at the next level. Some of them, they're going to be happy when they graduate high school, and then they're, what I mean? They're going to be happy with their careers after that. So I think the dynamic of that is trying to remember not every athlete is like you.
Yeah.
Right. Not every athlete thinks the way you do, or is as competitive as you are, or wants it as much as you want it. So you've got to try to find your own peace with that and adjust your mentality to help those guys that don't want it maybe as much as you, but try to get them somewhere to the level of where you're at, and get them to buy into that, instead of just being like, well, if you don't, you're not competitive enough, or you don't want it enough, just get going. So you got to change your mentality a little bit. And you've got to, like I said, you're dealing with very young men who are going to make mistakes and, obviously do things. And you've got to be there to kind of get to their level and try to bring them up.
Nah, absolutely. It's so crazy hearing you talk like this, by the way, because it's so real. Because our conversations are different at the college level. It's like, all right, like how can we make sure that, we plan our training around like peaking at our national team? Hey, who's our 10 guys? How can we peak? All right, well, if this happened to a guy, who's next up? We got to make sure they're progressing as well.
Absolutely.
And it's just so surreal to hear you talk like that. And then like something big that you said was like find your peace with like them, because it's so frustrating.
It is.
We got all the talent in the world. Why is John Barrett gassing right now? Why is XYZ happening right now? And like he got it all. Like, what's up here that's making him not go there?
Yeah. And then, like I said, some kids, obviously, I mean, you're dealing with some kids that, some days they don't want to be there. So like, you've got to find ways to have your peace with a certain day. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like you learn not to get too frustrated, or you just won't, you'll take it out of the kids and you won't be productive, No,
absolutely. And that's beautiful to hear you talk like that. So, you took over a program that's historically out in the state of West Virginia. Like people know like what Parkersburg wrestling is, and the Big Red. So like, let's talk about that. Like, what is the Dynasty of Parkersburg, and like, was it intimidating for you to like take over a program like that with so much history?
Obviously, with the history, it's huge. Obviously being in that room every day, you have a huge wall, that's got all of our state champs on it. And looking at that wall, and you start, learning the names, and you remembering the names. And it's kind of funny. Our old legendary coach before me, Coach Hanlon's been doing this like alumni gathering. And I go to it, and I finally got to meet a lot of these like old names I've seen on the walls, from years that he coached or whatever. And they come to those things, and it's kind of cool to kind of put a name with a face with that, But no, obviously the pressure, you want to. And it's not even pressure because, obviously your excellence is expected. Yeah. I think the pressure comes because obviously it's my alma mater. Yeah. And like, I want to see the program be great, not just because it's my job, but because like, I'm into the program. Like I graduated from here. It made me who I am. So like, I don't want to see the program go down. Yeah. So that kind of makes me want to work harder. So it's not just me and my job on the line. It's this program that I was entrusted with. Yeah. So I think there's where that pressure comes from, more than success. It's more than I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so much history with this program, and we just got to make sure we continue that history. And I feel sometimes that's where you feel the pressure more than, well, I have to win a state title, or I have to be, have 4 state champs this year. I have to, so X, Y, Z. I think it's more or less like, what can we do to continue this tradition of Parkersburg wrestling being great? And that's where the pressure comes from.
Yeah. So you've been the head coach there for what, 3 years now?
This is I think I start year 6.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Time flies, man. I started when I think I started my head coaching job when I was 28. I just turned 33. So this will be year 6 right here, I believe.
Well, that makes sense because I graduated 16. We had a year of coaching, 16 to 17.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yep.
Man, that's crazy.
Time flies, man.
What? Man, well, good for you. That's awesome. So how did you get past that pressure?
Well, as I think I mentioned earlier, obviously just like wanting to, like, you work hard because you want to be successful. So I think just trusting in the process, right? And I tell people all the time, like, are you nervous? Like, my wrestlers are like, well, yeah, a little bit. I said, well, did you work as hard as you could? And if you did, then there's nothing to be nervous about, right?
Yeah.
Because you've done everything you possibly could to prepare yourself for this match or this moment. And if you fall short, then it is what it is at this point, Don't be nervous. Like, you've done the work.
Yeah.
Trust the work that you've done and don't be nervous about it. So, as I've kind of grown into this role, I've learned to just kind of trust myself, I guess, right? And trust what I'm doing. I know works. And if it doesn't, then we're back to the drawing board and we're, studying or doing research to find out, what's the next direction we need to go in here. Just not trying to stay stagnant in that,
Man, that's so crazy. Like I said, I'm like in here different because, like, again, like when you're my coach, it was like a different type of mindset, you know, like, so it's super cool to hear you say that. And it sounds like you also had to adjust with the times and the type of kids we have coming through now, because like I'm when I go back and do camps at my high school, it will be the most frustrating thing. I will go, I'm like, Coach, what's going on? Are they warming up right now or what? He'd be like, yeah, we can't go too hard, they're gonna quit. And I was like, what?
Yeah, it's definitely that's been a big adjustment. So, I mean, obviously you look at it from a college standpoint, you can really go hard at the kids. And, if a kid does quit, like, usually you have a backup for him. And if not, like, you're going to go and recruit another kid the next year if something happens, right? In high school, not so much. So we talked about pressure too. And that's sometimes you feel that pressure in high school. Like, you want to be tough on them. You want to, put the best product on the mat. But then you also can't run kids off, because if you're not putting a full team or a good product, then the community starts turning on you. So it's this conundrum of, you don't want to get too hard on to run the kids off, because you need them, in the same sense as you're trying to create, tough-nosed wrestlers that, want to put their foot in the ground and, not move. They're going to stand in front of you, and no matter who you are, they're going to, get in the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe because, like, again, when I think about Parkersburg, I think about like the Skylar Terrell type of guys.
Yeah.
Nicody came up, and Nicody wasn't like he wasn't like Skylar Terrell, but you could see like where he came from.
Yeah.
Program wise, even obviously like you. So how do you cultivate the Parkersburg mentality? And for everyone listening, I'll let you explain what the Parkersburg mentality is. But how do you cultivate it in this new generation of kids?
Well, so if Hedger's listening, he'll call Parkersburg tough. So he knows what that's all about. Anyway, that's what the Parkersburg mentality is. It's basically just we're going to be tough. And I kind of mentioned it earlier, saying get in the fight, not like physically get in a fight, but like make the match as much of a dog fight as you can, right? Like be physical, bang on his head, move him, put him. Even if he beats you by 9 points, 8 points, I want him to walk off the mat and be like, you know what, that guy. He's just mean. Like, I don't want to wrestle with him. Like, he makes me not want to be out there because he's just so mean to me. And you majored the person. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's kind of the toughness that we like, right? We want to, for 6 minutes, you're going to be on the mat. It's 6 minutes of controlled chaos. In the sense of things. So that's kind of our mentality. And I will say, obviously, I think I say this sometimes to my coaches. I'm like, I'm not sure if my mentality would fit at almost any other high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it wasn't Parkersburg High School and we were known for this is who we are, I think sometimes like they would think, we were a little crazy.
Yeah.
I got a buddy, and I won't mention names or the schools, but he moved away and he's coaching somewhere else. And he did some of the drills and stuff that we do in our room. Mm-hmm. And the coach told him he had to back it down a little bit. It was too intense. And there were drills to kind of create that, toughness.
Yeah, the toughness.
So like I say, anywhere else, they don't like it. With us, it's a custom.
Yeah.
So, we still do. I mean, we still make it that way. It's just now trying to find a way to get kids to buy in or kind of ease into that mentality instead of day one, you're either going to, get it or get gone, it's kind of just an adjustment. And before they know it, they're there and they didn't even realize see the change. You know what I mean?
That's real, bro. That's real. I love stuff like that because, like, man, and you see it in your guys, and, but I just know, like, when I was going back to my high school and I was looking at the type of kid now, I was like, yo, and if my coach isn't like, like that type of guy, but I'm coming in, I'm trying to do some like pretty standard like stuff. And I'm like, like, hey, they might quit. Like, chill out, and, but obviously I come from a different environment too. So it's just surreal. I love the Parkersburg mindset because I feel like I'm a direct byproduct of it, even though you don't know it. Well, you might know it. My drill partner coming in, Skylar
Yeah.
Terrell. I wasn't used to like whatever he was doing. Get like I had to earn everything,
Yeah.
everything. And I think a lot of people didn't like it from him. But every day I showed up, and then slowly got better, got better, got better, got better, got better, got better. And
Yeah.
I tell people all the time on podcasts like Skylar Terrell is like a big huge reason for any success I had at the collegiate level. So.
Well, and you get a partner like that too. It's funny. You said a lot of people didn't like that. I mean, we see it here too. Like I'll have a kid on the team who's just a hammer, or he's just everything he hits hard. Like there's like you said, you earn everything you get with him, right? And we'll have kids that like just don't want to practice. Like, yeah, we're not gonna practice with him because
Yeah.
he makes them work hard. He makes them, tired. Like I'm sure you felt that at some point in time, coming in to wrestle with Skyler, like you had a bad day, you're a little tired. You're like, man, I really don't have to put up with this guy today.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But those are the guys that make you better.
Made me so much better. And obviously that's the type of guy you need if you need some the type of style where you need to see your progression.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I was able to do. So like I tell people, people talk junk about like, I got better.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So and then obviously like you were huge on me as well because like you had so much pride even in your retirement years that like I didn't.
I wasn't fully retired just yet. Come on, man.
Oh yeah. Well, okay, your post competition years that like man you didn't give nothing up. I was like, man, I'm gonna get him today. So I would go in the room for everyone listening. I would literally go in a room every day, wait till he's tired, wait till like everything's happening. Hey, Littleton, let's go. I gotta get this takedown. And I in my mind recorded two, but he won't give me that. So
I think you got one. Well, I remember one well after I was retired at a Cardinal camp. That was it. That was the only one I know of.
That I mean, I'll claim that.
That's when I officially retired. I'm done. That's when I knew.
Had so much pride. And and if everyone listening, Littleton had bad knees, so he was in a brace. He was there. He was not giving me anything. And so it just shows the pride that like you all have, no matter what.
Well, I think that's some of that competitiveness kind of just bred into us too. Well, I think that's it as wrestlers. That's one thing I love about our sport. I feel like everyone who wrestles is completely competitive. Like they will. It doesn't matter what they're doing. If they were a wrestler, you guys could be out there playing chess, and like it's going to be a very intense game of chess. Right, because like I think that's just who we are as individuals. That's why we do it. Like we're on the mat, it's just us and somebody else, and like we're in front of everybody. So if we lose, we don't get to point the finger at anybody.
No.
So like I think that's why wrestlers are competitive. Like we are just like that's our mentality. It's just who we are. It's what we've developed over our years, and we just don't like to lose. We just don't like the feeling, So even in the practice room, like I'm like I outweigh JB by like 50 pounds. Like I'm still not giving it up.
Yeah,
I'm not giving it to. I don't care.
And then it's the crazy part. I'm like, hey, let's go. 50 pounds.
Yeah, you're like 50 pounds. I got it. I'm okay.
Hey, and now that I think about it, that's so funny because like it's like we don't even like think about like that part or
no.
Like any of us like that compete at this level, like we didn't even like there was never a time where you like coach made a bad call, like you rarely get mad at a coach, and if you did see that, like like that guy probably wasn't around long.
No, you're right.
So it's just surreal because like things like that don't even cross our mind. Like blaming a coach for a wrestling match.
Well, we had something special at Jesuit, though. You know what I mean? Like that was something in the works. That was going great. We won't get into that around this round.
Yeah. Most definitely. So so you're just taking over a Dynasty. What's some tweaks you had to do when you come in? Obviously, you talked about the easing the guys into like the Parkersburg mindset. But what other things did you have to do to like make these kids accustomed to like greatness essentially?
Well, I think like obviously practice room wise, like I really had to like I'd say slow things down. Most high college kids, when they get there, they know they're set up, right? Get an idea, right? Some kids come to us and they're still learning how to hand fight a little bit. They're not finished. They don't know how to finish head inside singles on the mat. They've just been, stronger than everybody, right? So we've got
Yeah.
to start working on symbolizing this technique a little bit more than we work on a little bit more advanced stuff at the next level. So adjustment there. And then I don't know. I think the benefit of me is I'm from Parkersburg, so I kind of knew the history. I knew the dynamics. I knew it was a dynasty. Like I knew what was expected. So the adjustment wasn't huge. I think the adjustment more was for me was like I said, the practice room stuff and just going from college athletes to high school kids. Like it's a lot bigger than some people anticipate.
Yeah. 100%. And then like again, you're molding these kids, like that, college, they're young adults already and kind of like have their mindset set on certain things. But like these young kids, you're kind of like showing them what's possible. You're showing them, like they might not like believe in themselves. So you're kind of like putting that seed of belief in there for them. And I know you're doing it because you got the numbers to show it.
Well, I think, and you see it a lot more at the high school level, obviously, but like sometimes, wrestling is better for the kid than the kid is for us, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? From a numbers or statistical standpoint, like the kid's not going to score us a ton of points in the state tournament or in a dual match, but like wrestling's helped this kid get his life to where he wants it to be and where it needs to be. And obviously we're happy to have a kid like that on our team as long as he's doing everything we expect out of him, but you see that a lot at this level, which is kind of the cool part, to be a high school coach. You see those kids that may never start, but they bust their ass every year. And then they graduate and they become something of themselves. And it's like, where would they have been without this or without us? What would happen to this? Would he got lost within the mess of what's going on in town? You know what I mean? Who knows?
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Man, and that's the beautiful aspect of it, because like I said, like college, you see us matriculate and things like that, but you kind of know if they're hungry enough to come to this level, or talented enough to come to the level, like you kind of expect certain things from them, like out afterwards. You pick up on their habits, but like these young kids, man, you're showing them what's possible. Which I always went back to my school because like I know if I was the only college wrestler to ever come out of this place, me going back would mean the world to them, and they know that they can be better than me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so many more athletic guys, and I would go there. I'd be like, man, I got all these coach connections, I got all these like stuff. I just need you to work on this, and it would just drive me crazy because they didn't want it for themselves, and
those are the times you gotta kind of make peace with yourself a little bit, make peace in your mind that not every kid's gonna want it as bad as you do.
Yeah.
Some might want it more. Some are going to want it the same. Some are going to want it less. And you've got to find, if you can't reach that kid, you got to find a way to kind of make your peace and not let it haunt you,
Man. Yeah, I know. And it's like, too, there's so many programs popping up now, so much opportunity, for guys. And we know so many people in this sport. So it's like, I'm getting pretty like about it right now.
I can tell you're starting to get a little heated, man.
Man, yeah.
The frustration comes.
Yeah, man. I'm at the age when you start your program, so I can only imagine how you yeah, But and I think also too with coaching, you had the opportunity to be an assistant coach first, which I think pays huge dividends.
Yeah.
Huge dividends, instead of jump into a head coach, because a head coach, especially at the college level, you're these kids' parents while they're away from home.
Yeah.
And then in areas like Parkersburg, you are their parents still.
Yeah.
So like, how was that like, going from assistant to a head coach?
So it's crazy. Obviously I learned a ton under Sean as an assistant coach. And obviously I've taken a lot of what I've learned, not just, wrestling related, but obviously, just life and, being a man related. I've taken that with me. I would say I would have loved at least 1 year. Obviously, I'm adjusted now, but I went from being a college assistant dealing with college athletes to being a head high school coach. Like there was nothing in between for me. So I do think I would have liked a year under the coach before me to kind of just step in. And I can run a practice room. I can do all this. It's kind of the other stuff, getting a schedule, having to run a boosters program, making sure you have enough money, getting all the hotel rooms, make sure you're running that budget right. You know what I mean? And just jumping through those hoops and getting all that squared away. Plus, working on the development of your young men.
Yeah.
I think 1 year kind of just getting in there as an assistant would have helped. Because I got hired as a head coach, like, I don't know, about 2 months before the season started, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was basically just jumped right in and went at it. So
yeah, it's crazy because I don't think a lot of people understand. Like, coaching is like like there's a recruiting piece in college, but it's all really the same in the sense of like the administrative portion is like you gotta like really like know what you're doing, you know. And like it's not like you just show up and you just know how to like schedule matches. You gotta like know the people, scheduling referees, like all these different things that go into running a program. And this is where Doyle always told me, he was like, you're running a business. It's more of a business than it is like wrestling.
Yeah, exactly what it is. College is obviously a lot more than high school, I think. I will say this, like my athletic director is great, man. Obviously him having a wrestling background, he orders a lot of like my mat cleaning supplies. He schedules all our officials. Yeah, he does a lot more than that. Obviously he does a ton. So like I'm blessed at our school to have an AD who he's a wrestling guy as it is. And obviously you and I both know like wrestling can easily get forgotten.
Yeah.
When it comes to as a sport. So having him there really helps me out a lot. And then obviously if I have any questions, he was a head coach for a while. So if I have any questions, I can always peek into his office and, run something by him that I might want to do for practice or, whatever. So that's nice to have that available.
Absolutely. And like you said, like it can be forgotten because we're so autonomous, like once you get your mats, when you get your mats, like what you gonna ask for? And we're gonna do our own thing anyways. Oh, you need to move the weight room. Well, I got 30 guys.
Yeah,
let's go move the weight room. Like, what are we talking about? So Littleton, like this podcast is big on like self-development, faith, leadership, finance, and things like that. So there's people listening who want to like apply some of the mindset strategies that you talked about to their everyday life. How can they do that, and how do you do it?
Well, I learned a lot from Sean. Obviously just being like as a man, you know what I mean? And like as my mindset myself, he kind of mentored me to become who I am now. I don't know. I just think I always think of it like I have a saying that I always tell my boys too. I say it's called control the controllables.
Yep.
Right? So they get upset, the match is over, if it's wrestling related. I always tell them, God, listen, it's done. It's over. Nothing that you do right now is going to change the outcome of that match, right? But we can control our emotions and how we react to this, right?
Absolutely.
Control our controllables. So anytime there's a situation that we can control that. If it's something that's out of our control and it is what it is, it's going to happen, then you can't let your emotions kind of get the better of you and let you make a poor choice or do something, negative that's going to impact this over here, right? So I kind of, that's like I say, that's kind of my go-to thing with them. So I try to use that kind of honestly in my personal life too.
Absolutely.
If I approach a situation, and I find out, well, what can we control here and what can't we control? And then adjust, we can adjust our mentality, adjust our mind a little bit throughout any situation, and I think you can apply that just about anything of your life for the most part.
That's beautiful.
So, I just try to do that. I try to remind myself that every day, or if I'm getting I get mad about a situation, well, what can I do to change the situation? If there's nothing, then I need to tell myself, hey, there's no need to be mad at this. We can't do anything,
That's real. That's real. And that's beautiful, Littleton. So where can people find you? Like where can people reach out and ask questions if they want to know some mindset techniques?
I would say probably my email is the best, which is Matthew.Littleton@k12.wv.us.
Most definitely. Hey, Coach Littleton, I appreciate you jumping on the podcast.
I appreciate you having me, JB.
It means the world to me.
You're the man.
Hey, we'll talk soon. Hey, phenomenal episode with Coach Matt Littleton. Like I said, it's surreal. He was my coach, then we became peer coaches, and then built a brotherhood, and like a mentor all at the same time. And he's doing some pretty phenomenal things in the sport, impacting young men. So I'm super excited to know him. I'm super excited for you to hear this episode because there's a lot of like mindset gems I think he dropped in this episode that are like allow you to apply to your everyday life. So I'm super grateful for Coach Littleton jumping on the podcast. Thanks everyone for listening for the Masters podcast.